And welcome back to Did You Hear About, the podcast where we talk about anything from sports to the end of the world. Some would say that it might feel like the end of the world because college football is officially over. It was over after last week, but some might feel like that's the end of the world. I know it's probably the end of the world, like the we talked about last week, the Dr. Pepper commercial people. They certainly feel like it's the end of their world because it kind of is. We probably won't see them again for another, I don't know, what, 8 months, something like that, when or when college football starts back again.
240 days.
It's the end of the world for Alabama fans.
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of is. After basketball's kind of falling apart.
But
yeah,
basketball. There's a basketball game going on right now.
They're playing against LSU. They're winning, but it's not exactly the most convincing performance I've ever seen.
Also, relating to that point, I think if you have a bad year, quote unquote, as a football team, and you end up at a national championship, winning your conference and a Heisman, it could be worse.
It could be worse. Most teams would qualify it as a good year, but the SEC is a little different.
Well, I think just Alabama's a little different.
One thing, well, I don't know what all y'all have to talk about. I know y'all both had a little bit to talk about, as far as like college football goes. I know we had a couple of solutions that you guys wanted to kind of propose to fixing the problems of college football that are not exactly the mainstream outlooks. But it's like, it's kind of, we always talk about what's wrong with college football. Well, we got to talk about a little bit about what's right with college football.
Well,
you know?
I saw I'm not on Twitter, but it was reposted to Instagram. And 1 second, let me see who posted it. I just had it up.
I think they should have field goals for points the further back you kick them.
Like 30 yards and farther, I think you get an extra point for every 10 yards.
40 yards.
So if you kick a 60-yarder, it's 6 points.
If you kick a 70-yarder, you just win the game.
Yeah. That'd be all you practice. You practice that, take a kneel down on the 40, or like on the, what would be like the opposite 45-yard line.
Just run backwards
try and kick a 70-yarder.
So Barrett Saley, I guess he's some kind of sports analyst or whatever.
He's a blue check Twitter handle.
Pretty much. But he brings up some good points. So I'm going to read his list out to y'all, and y'all are going to give me your opinions. And neither of you have heard any of these before, so I'm just.
So what are these opinions about?
These are how to improve college football next season.
That's debatable if I've heard about them. I feel like I probably will have, but we'll see.
We've all heard the concepts, but this is just
rehashing
them.
Brock, the man behind the microphone.
Yes,
talking over that way.
Okay, so we can just go back and forth. We can go, one of you can go first and the other one, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. So the first step on improving college football, transfer portal windows. So no transfer portal all year. You can't do it the whole year. You do it like European football. You have a window of like amount of time that you can make a transfer, and then the rest of the season you cannot.
I agree that's a good idea. Josh Pate actually brought that up a couple of weeks ago. I know we listened to that, the late kick in the car, and they had talked about that being a good idea of what, and I 100% agree that should be a thing because transfer portal madness is just kind of it's all over the place right now.
I don't really like the transfer portal period. So I guess a window's better than nothing. But just being able to go any point in time, swap schools and everything else is not a good thing.
It's a new concept. It's very weird
because college used to not be that way, and now it is. So,
but as seasons go on, do we think this will be an improvement next season if they added windows, or would it make it worse, or would it remain the same?
It would make it better.
Dad?
It'd be probably better than it was now, but
still not as good.
But right now, it can't get much worse as far as like the weirdness of it all.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think we saw a ton of drama in the transfer portal. We saw a lot of like there's a lot of like the philosophy behind it. I think people find a little strange, especially us. Like the idea that you can just leave your school at any point and go play almost immediately for a new school,
just because you're not happy with your play time or whatever.
Yeah, but
I think like we said last week, could be a one-time deal that you get a chance to transfer without penalty because of whatever circumstances you were recruited by a coach. and you get there, and then the coach leaves, or something happens, or whatever it is, and you get a chance
or you get
to-
offered a lot of money by another program.
Yeah, that's happened a lot this year. Or like, I mean, if it's like an academic thing and you want to improve your academics, you want to go to a better school because of academics or something like that, then that's fine.
Do they
but-
do football players go to class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some do. some from Oregon may not go to class as much, but anyway. I mean, if it's like an academic thing, or like you said, if a coach leaves, when you don't expect him to, because I mean, if you come in and you expect to play under like Lincoln Riley, let's say, and then someone else comes in who's a defensive coordinator who doesn't have that same style of play that Lincoln Riley does, and you're a quarterback that's a little bit of a gunslinger, and you won't get that opportunity under a Brent Venables who's more of a defensive-minded coach, I could see that as a reason to leave.
So
Speaking of transfer portal, though, just while we're on the topic, I wanted to bring this up. JT Daniels is officially transferring out of Georgia, along with one of their wide receivers, and Stetson Bennett, the mailman, is staying for his he's a 6-year senior.
Very
year.
interesting. And I honestly think that's probably the best move for Stetson Bennett. He is it's a good story, but even though they won a national championship, I don't see him as a first or even maybe a second rounder, to be honest. I see him being the next.
have they even
Jake
said
Fromm.
I mean, is he any NFL kind of?
Let me look at his
But
projected pick.
but my thing about that is I disagree that it was a good move. I think it's a bad move for him because let's say you come into next year and you don't have the team you have around you right now and you play worse, your draft stock can only go down. If it goes out there and has like an incredible year like Joe Burrow did in his last year, that's a different story. But Stetson Bennett didn't have a bad year. I mean, he won the national championship, beat Alabama. I mean, he did what everyone said he couldn't do.
I don't know. I'm probably neutral on that because I don't know enough. But whatever he wants to do, yeah. I mean, if it's not your time for the NFL, if you're not whatever, give it another shot. Because I'm sure he's gonna make the NIL money somehow, so he can stick with. I mean, he might have that. Might even be
that's
some of the,
what I would say would be
Kinda like,
what he
Fouts.
is doing.
Kind of like Fouts in softball. You don't have any really money making opportunities after college, so why not stay in college?
Oh my God, that was an incredible block by Bama, and then there's a foul going the other way. But yeah, I think the transfer portal thing, or I think the NIL opportunity for Bennett is going to be way higher now because he won a national championship, and also it's kind of like I was saying, they have him projected as like not even a day 1 or 2 pick, like late 3rd round kind of pick.
Which I think is a little harsh. I think he's a decent quarterback. There are a lot of good quarterbacks. Well, I don't even. Who's the number 1 quarterback going in the supposedly going in the
only
draft?
thing I see with him, he reminds me of Ian Book and Jake Fromm.
Yeah.
Just not exactly a lights out kind of quarterback that you can build your franchise around. He's a work in progress.
Yeah. But again, as an NFL team, you have those guys, and they ride the bench and they improve over the years, and at least you have a solid guy to back you up.
Yeah,
Like,
but there's nobody
going
to be.
Is Matt Corral supposed to be quarterback number 1 going this?
Yeah, probably
This draft.
more than likely. Yeah, but my only thing is there's nobody. You're not gonna have to fight for anybody to get him. If like Seattle wants to get him to back up whoever they have next year, if it's Russell Wilson or whoever, they're not gonna have to like fight day 1 and 2 to get him.
No, I agree. Obviously not. But I don't know. I fear that next year his draft stock is going to go down.
And it might. I could see him being a better quarterback next year, like a 2nd rounder.
But do you think? But the team around him,
it will get worse. But he'll probably get paid more next year because of NIL than he would in the NFL, I would say. And I mean, he's got a national championship under his belt. I don't think Georgia are going to be bad by any stretch next year.
It's probably a comfortable thing for him.
It's
to stay
a
there.
very
It's
comfortable
just a
thing for him to
comfortable-
stay.
yeah. And
I mean, going somewhere
does he
else.
have? I mean, obviously, I'm sure he has NFL aspirations, but
Oh well, yeah, obviously. But at the same time,
like we said, it's comfort versus, I guess, I don't know, new experience. I don't know what you would say about that, but it's like that would be a serious challenge for him to go into the NFL and be a starter. in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I would give him a 3-year span at the most, or at the least, to give him an opportunity to start. And I think he could start, but he just reminds me of like the traditional game manager. He's not the guy who's going to go out there and win you football games, especially not.
I mean, they
early
said
on.
the same thing about Mac Jones.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a different story. With Mac Jones, you had a guy Who,
He's kind of like old Alabama quarterback.
yeah, it reminds me a lot of A.J. McCarron. That's who I was thinking of, and I love A.J. and he was a great quarterback for Alabama, and he had an NFL career, and he's still in the NFL. Had a few injuries.
Yeah, say he has ACL injury.
Yeah,
right
he
now.
had an ACL injury, so he's on the mend. But I see him as like an A.J. McCarron, a Jake Fromm, and Ian Book, who's not likely going to get that great opportunity. And honestly, I mean, if you ask me who's making more money right now, Jake Fromm or Stetson Bennett, like next year they're competing salaries, Stetson Bennett will probably make more money.
Yep. And AJ McCarron, if you want to get on the podcast, just hit us up.
Just hit us up. It's
yeah,
fine.
we'll have you on. No problem. All right, next topic.
Wait, what was the question for that one again? Your overall question?
Oh,
the window for the transfer
yeah.
portal? Yeah, it's a good idea.
Dad, you concur? Window would be better next year if
Yes.
they had transfer windows? Okay. Ooh, here's a question. When would they be? Would they be at the beginning and end of the season, or would you do it again like football in Europe, where you have one in the middle of the season as well?
I would do it in February, and then I would do it again in September.
Yeah, I would. Not middle of the season, you got to play.
Middle of the season? Well, because September. Well, I don't know.
When does
it starts in August.
Okay.
But I don't know. Would you do one maybe a month into the season? Because the biggest thing is injuries. Like if you lose your starting quarterback week 2, you gotta like maybe try and dig around the portal to try and find the guy. So I don't know. Maybe put it.
I think the season is the season, and once it starts, I mean, you've got to have a team for the season. In my opinion, you got to have a team for the season. Play through it, live with it, and then after the fact, you can shuffle the cards around.
I would say at the very beginning of the year, whether it's like week 1 or like before the season starts, and then like February. Those would be my two. Because like January national championship happens, so you can't have it happen then. You can't have it really going on whenever football is being played.
So can you transfer portal in the middle of the season right now?
Yeah, you can do it whenever you want.
It's just wide
so what happens? So
season.
can you? And then what do you do?
Well, you can't. I don't know what the regulations are.
I don't
playing.
think you can play. There's probably some kind of regulation. I tried to read through it one day, and it was too much to read.
Well, it's like you used to have to wait. You have to redshirt when you transferred schools anyway. So, I don't think you should be able to play that year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the case, and if you want to have it in the middle of the year, go ahead. You
won't be able to play. You can practice with the team. I know.
And do you lose a year of eligibility?
See, I think depends on how many games you played. It's like it is now.
Yeah,
if you have to play X amount of games.
Depends on when that depends on when the window is.
Yeah.
But just cause you're, I mean, I could think of a situation, you're a receiver and your quarterback gets hurt, and then all of a sudden you can't get past, but that's just part of being on the team.
Or you're a quarterback and your receiver gets hurt.
Yeah, but you can't leave the team for that reason. You got to stick it out.
Yep.
So.
Okay, next one, and I'm gonna add a little modifier to this one, which might be what he meant, but it was only eliminate the early signing period. Overall, what I want to say is, I think you should eliminate official early signings. You could have verbal early signings, verbal commitments, but nothing on paper. I think that should not be allowed. Let's see what y'all say.
Again, another thing that Josh Pate covered, which I wholeheartedly agree with what he said. You don't eliminate the early signing period, but you move it. When is official signing day right now? Hang on, let me look.
So you're the early. Yeah, I think you gotta. When you're playing the football, all that happens after the national championship.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff's got to happen. It's too much of a distraction.
Yeah,
and if they want to have a bigger, keep college football flowing or whatever, just move the games up or something and have them closer together and not have that gap in there.
Yeah, because this year we had. When was early signing day this year?
It was during the season.
Yeah, it was right towards the end of the season, correct?
Because National Signing Day is the 2nd of February, which that's a fine time to have it. I think early signing day should be then, and then you've got just traditional signing day sometime later in the season. I don't think you get rid of it at all, because that shows a team kind of what they can build on throughout the year. And then, you can kind of fit in the pieces once you know the guys that you have, and then you can try and scout some other guys. Like if you pick up a good quarterback in the window that you maybe didn't expect to get, then on just National Signing Day, then you just go for receivers. You can pick up offensive linemen, things like that. I think it's a fine thing to have, but just having it this year, right, like as the season was ending, is not a good idea. The timing of it's very bad.
You should be focused on the championship, playoff, or whatever it is. That should be what college football, and not all these other. I mean, the Heisman is enough to be in the midst of all that, and Chris, so and then do all your other stuff, because then you could kind of extend college football further out with
to a year-round thing.
Yeah, you do that in February or after the national championship, and you've got something else going on there for that.
Because they will still have the, like you said, traditional signing day, but I agree. I think it would be more of an enjoyable time if, like, after the national championship's been played and we don't have any football, at least we can look at the recruits coming up and who they might sign with. It's a fun thing to talk about and discuss.
Because, especially if your team is playing postseason ball, whether it's, a New Year's Six game or national championship or in the playoffs, it makes it a little bit of a struggle to kind of keep up with all that. As a team, I'm sure. And, obviously you have a lot of guys, guys delegated specifically for that. But as a fan base, it can sometimes be hard to pick up and, keep up with all that. But yeah, my only thing is you move you move early signing day to where National Signing Day is now, which looks like it's going to be February the 2nd, and then you just push National Signing Day back a couple of months. And that makes it more of a year-round sport. That's another thing that we listened to Josh Pate talk about, was making football more of a year-round kind of thing rather than just a seasonal sport.
Yep, I tend to agree.
Also, Josh Pate, if you want to hit up on the podcast, just let me know.
Number 3, eliminating divisions. And I guess we can kind of draw our own conclusions here as what he means by divisions. But
I think it's just talking about Power 5 groups.
That's what I assumed as well.
I think that's a bad idea. Okay, that comes with a caveat. Well, I don't know if it does. I know another question that you have that's going to be coming up. I think you have a question about should
automatic bids?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was going to tie it into that. I don't know. I think getting rid of conferences, I think that's a bad idea.
Why?
Well, you get set into the Notre Dame thing. Notre Dame's not a conference team. They just kind of play whoever they want. My thing is, and then you lose kind of that rivalry in some sports. Like with Alabama, we love playing Tennessee. We love playing LSU. We love playing Auburn. And that game matters more because it's a conference game. So, if Tennessee goes out and beats Alabama one year, they knock them out of the SEC championship. Tennessee loves that. Like that kind of thing. So I feel like it's important for the sport. And, the only people wanting to get rid of divisions are people who don't play in the SEC.
True. That goes back to all the other
God, LSU's on a comeback. Please stop them.
Playoff talking and all that. So I just don't. I think there'll have to be something done. But like I said, everybody's going to have to be in something. Notre Dame
you can't have the Wild West.
Or
you can't just go do whatever you want to do.
Well, Notre Dame suffered from it a little bit this year because they had to just sit back and watch everybody play, and they didn't have their say in it because they don't have a conference to play in. So it was either the team loses, like it was Cincinnati, and so it's either Cincinnati loses and they're in, or Notre Dame or Cincinnati win and then Notre Dame's out. Notre Dame didn't have a say in it because they don't play in a conference.
They were not in control of their own destiny.
Nope, they can't say we're conference champions, so we deserve to be here.
So do you think that I would say, does that add like an air of legitimacy? So you could say, I am such and such champion, therefore I have more say in this than you do.
Depending on what teams are in your conference, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Number 4. This one I actually really like, and I wholeheartedly agree with this one. You have 2 targeting penalties. You have targeting. Well, they call it targeting 1 and targeting 2, is what he says here.
LSU is about to beat Alabama. I'm so disappointed. They've hit 3 threes in a row. Alabama was up by 11 and rolling, and we just give them 3 threes in a row. They're down by 2 now. LSU is.
Back to targeting.
Anyway,
back to targeting.
Yes, I agree with that call.
Because I think. Or go ahead. I won't. I won't color this with
Say it again. I wasn't really paying attention.
I know. 2 targetings. That's all it says. Is targeting 1 and targeting 2.
As in, okay, so I don't know if you meant as in you can get hit with a targeting penalty twice and then be ejected, or there's a 1 and a 2.
No, what I read it as is there are 2 different criteria for 2 different. It's like a face. I think they do in the NFL.
They used to be face masks.
Yeah,
an intentional or more unintentional.
Exactly. That's what I read it as.
Yes, I agree with this 100% because you get things like that happen, and it's an Alabama thing. The kind of the Jameson Williams thing whenever he got ejected against Auburn. It wasn't necessarily like a malicious hit, but it fit the definition of targeting. Also, with Clemson a couple of years ago, Stolsky got ejected after that hit on Justin Fields he had.
He got ejected from a bunch of games for targeting calls.
But I mean, like,
but it's just how he tackles.
Yeah, it's old school football tackling.
Traditionally, that's how you tackle something.
Yeah, so
I never played, but like when you see old big hit compilations, 90% of those hits now are fouls.
Yeah, exactly. So I think targeting 1 and targeting. If there's like an intent to hurt somebody, if you go up there and clean somebody out on like a punt return and they're not looking at you and you crack them with the crown of your helmet or a wide receiver.
Or quarterback.
Yeah, anything like that, I agree with 100%. But whenever you tap a quarterback with the crown of your helmet and they don't even hit the ground, because we've seen that a couple times this year, especially with quarterbacks. If you tap them with the crown of your helmet to like their face mask and not really hit them, but just kind of do this to them, it's an automatic ejection, and that's a bad rule.
Because it used to be defense. I guess the criteria has changed. It used to be defenseless players. Now if you hit anybody with the crown of your helmet, and it doesn't even have to be on the head anymore.
Nope.
That's something they changed. I don't know if that was this year or last year.
It was last year because that's how Skolsky got ejected.
So it's attacking your opponent with the crown of your helmet anywhere. You can hit them in the ribs, in the legs, I guess. We didn't really see that.
I think they also call it spearing. I think is another thing.
Yeah.
That used to be called spearing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I think
Goldberg out there.
I think really in the end we should just go to flag football. And
that's where they're going.
And everybody get a trophy.
That's how it goes.
Because now, especially in the NFL, the rule that's such like a soft thing. You can't touch a quarterback on the face mask if you jump up to try and block the ball and your hand comes down and touches him on the helmet. That's a roughing the passer.
The worst thing to watch, and we broadcast other sports on our other channel, and we're not going to get involved in replay junk, but the worst to watch is a targeting call, and then you watch the play, maybe that was targeting, but you don't know if it was targeting or not because the play happened so fast. Well, let's slow that down in slow motion and look at it frame by frame, and you can't even... That's an impossible thing to do because you can find you're nitpicking something that's really impossible to do. You got to take the whole thing in context of how the play happened. If the quarterback is running and is he going to slide down or not? Then all of a sudden he slides down and you're tackling him and you're already diving down to tackle him, and then he slides down and you hit him. They look at the replay and they start calling targeting for that, even though.
Especially, we were talking about this last night because we were watching a basketball game last night, and there was a shot made, and it went. They called it. It was a buzzer beater basically, and they said it went in. Instead, it was a clean shot. We went back and looked at the replay. It was 2 frames is the only difference between the ball in hand and the ball out of hand. We shoot at 30 frames a second. 30 frames a second is in 2 frames. That's 1/15 of a second. The refs there don't have the benefit of replay or anything, but that is how quickly these plays go. When you watch these replays of these football games, they're shooting in 60, 120 frames a second.
And like I said last night, we're shooting a game last night. Buzzer beater, it counts. It didn't have any outcome of the game. It was just a shot at the end of the quarter or the half or something or other.
Yeah.
They shot it, and then we went back. We got it on replay. Went back and looked at it. And looking at it and the scoreboard as the clock ticked down, he did not get the shot off, but we had the benefit to slow it down to 1 frame per second and look at it. And I don't have, I was like, if I'm a ref, I'm okay. The kid made it. You can't call it either way, but when you have the benefit of looking at it that way, to me, that's where the refs are part of the game,
Yep.
and they come into play in part of the game.
Because they're the human reaction.
Yep.
Like you have to be able to watch it at a human speed. Like again, a guy
otherwise,
like,
let's just put cameras out there and,
Yeah,
and
you
stop
don't
every
need-
play and
exactly,
call
you
it.
don't need referees.
That's what I was just about
Let's
to say.
just, you know what? Let's just put cameras out there, stop every play, and call it that way, and we'll be done with it.
And-
We will never have a penalty.
Well,
because we'll have just
Or-
penalties every play.
yeah.
that's what I was about to say. If you watch every single play in college football, you can find a penalty somewhere, whether it's a holding, whether it's a chop block or an
Hands to the
offside,
face.
hands to the face, somebody's lined up in the neutral zone. You
False
can
start.
Every
you
single
can-
play, the coach is on the field, so there's
You can-
it's something every single time.
You can find a penalty in every single play, and the question is, why does it stop with targeting? Why is a holding call not also reviewed?
Because initially, I think it was a malicious hit
but it's
that was
changed.
designed to protect mostly wide receivers
Yep.
and quarterbacks. That's how I saw it.
And, there were
kick
there was
returners.
some legitimate stuff in some of the hits that were going on with that.
And it definitely made players think. Like if you've got a heated rivalry game and you got a good kick returner returning the football, and you go up and you crack him because that's your job, you want to get him as you want to maybe eliminate him from the game,
Or you have a star wide
And-
receiver and you want to send a message.
and it costs you 15 yards. It's not a problem. You know, you give them up 15 yards, they play from the 35 rather than the 20. But now it's got a legitimate repercussion to it, so you kind of think twice about it, and that's fine. My biggest problem is nowadays you get
Nitpicking.
and now and you can still tackle and be a powerful player, but you're not able to kind of tackle in the traditional way. Another thing about the targeting is it does protect the guy who's tackling as well. Like, you know, once you hit someone with the top of your head, it puts a lot of downforce onto your head and like neck and back and shoulders. So I mean, there is some legitimate concern there. My biggest problem with it is whenever you get like a running back, if you've got Derrick Henry running at you and he's dropping his head to crack you, why can't you do the same back? But anyway,
I think more things will happen.
Targeting 1 and 2 is a good move.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we kind of touched on something overall, like the overall modification of refereeing in sports. We see it a lot in soccer. Like not this year, but the past year, offside calls were the width of your pinky finger. And
Is this the next topic, or just
no, I'm
or
just
same
but
thing?
I'm just saying overall, like this is like a topic that we could talk about because we talk about it quite often just around the house, and especially me and Ben being European
Soccer people.
fans, yeah, or European football fans.
You're not European.
No, we're not.
You're European soccer people.
Yeah, but like we saw last year, they had to make a modification to offside calls because there's no advantage when you have again a pinky finger width ahead of your opponent. They had to modify it in a way that, despite being offside, technically you have no advantage to. There's no advantage
It
to
gives
the
you
play.
no advantage.
Yeah.
Here's another thing about it too that's interesting, and we're probably
I don't
gonna.
think Ben's listening to me. He's just watching.
No,
the game.
I am. I was thinking we're also probably going to end up like the refereeing is so inconsistent the way it's set up because you've got. I mean, players are automatically guilty until proven innocent with targeting because you're called for it no matter what. And it used to be the rule of where if there was no targeting involved, it's still the 15-yard penalty, which I'm glad they rectified that. But the other thing is, and it's like you were talking about with soccer, if you have VAR, which is video assisted refereeing, so say you've got a play where the offside rule in soccer is if you're behind the defender whenever the ball is played, you're offsides. So you end up getting these things that happen where the ball is played where it looks to the referee like he is offsides, but he will allow the play to go on because the video will then help back him up. Like he can go, like the player can go on and score a goal, and then it gets called back because the referee then raises his flag or raises his hand to let the official know that he was offsides.
Or that he thinks he was offsides.
But then he can just go back and watch the video from it. Why can't we do that nowadays with football? If you see a flag for holding up here on the play, or you think it's holding, let the play go on. We can go back and look at it later to see if it's holding or not.
But again, I think that takes away a lot of
it does. But if people are going to get critical about official, like I will give all the crap in the world to a referee.
Especially last night.
Yeah, I would never, ever, ever I would never want to be a referee because people like me and you guys exist. But the point of it is refereeing is it
adds a human element to the officiating of a game.
Exactly. I mean, if you want it to be a robot game, then that's what you want it to be. That's fine. If that's how you want it to be played, go for it. But I don't think that's how the game should be played.
Because again, if you're playing a game and you're an offensive lineman and you hold somebody for a second longer than you should, and the ref sees it and he throws a flag, or if you do it for like almost in the blink of an eye. Is it still technically holding? But even if it doesn't give you a marked advantage in the play, is that still a penalty? Because you can start. Because again, we challenge whoever at home. If you watch a football game, NFL, college, Canadian football, if you're into that, I don't even know if they have holding. Do they have holding?
I don't know if they have penalties under Canadian football.
Yeah, I don't know. You can just do whatever the heck you want.
I think in the Canadian you can just kind of.
You run around before the play starts and everything. But I challenge everyone at home. Go watch a football game and slow everything down and watch every single lineman. You will find so many penalties.
Yeah, anyways. It's too automated.
Yep.
Too much, as far as.
And again, these cameras shoot in 120 frames a second. You know how fast
that
is?
Yeah, you can find every little thing if you want to nitpick, but that just destroys the game of the whole thing. So, I mean, referees are part of the game. Let them be part of the game.
I mean, whether you like it or not, your team has benefited from a referee's call at one point or another. You've also suffered from one at one
Even
point or
though
another.
you think you've suffered, you've
also benefited from some at the same time. So I don't know. It's just a strange thing.
All right.
What you got next?
Yeah, we kind of went off on a tangent there, but
a little bit.
A worthwhile tangent, I think. Hang on. Make sure I get this right. I'll read it straight from his Twitter. Banning automatic bids for conference champions, no matter what the playoff format becomes.
Yeah, that's a horrible decision. Automatic bids are an
he said ban them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I 100% agree with that.
Say
Automatic bids are an awful decision in football.
Ban automatic bids for conference champions, no matter what the playoff format becomes. So, Ben, you want to explain that?
Yeah. So,
Please.
The way it shakes down is... So you've got all your conferences, SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12, all your conferences. Every single champion gets a spot in the playoff, which is idiotic.
Why would you? Yeah, why would
it's such an because then you can say,
well, then you're just then
we're a conference champion, but we're also Oregon, and we went 6-5 this year.
And then you have a year like this year when you have Alabama and Georgia that go.
That's called the NFL.
Well, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But my thing to that is that's automatically setting the groundwork for an 8+ team playoff. Because right now we only have 4 teams in the playoff. Guess what? They're 5 power conferences. So automatically that's an issue. Second thing is if every single Power 5 champion gets an automatic bid, that's 5 spaces filled up. Then what? You get 1 team in other than those champions? That's dumb. So it's automatically 8 teams.
Because
and
again,
that's a problem in itself.
And again, you could have a year like this year where
how is that not Bama ball?
Where Alabama and Georgia were clearly the 2 most dominant teams in college football, and you can't say otherwise.
Meanwhile,
Alabama wins. Does that mean Georgia doesn't get to go? Because you put in another conference champion?
Because you would have 3.
No, but I'm saying, this year with only 4 spots in the playoffs, do you let somebody else go who is a conference champion?
I don't know, but I'm watching the Earth go by from the space station.
Oh, is there a space station going over right now? They're going past?
Yeah, y'all can't see the screen. You can look at it's like the Northern Lights.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah,
that's very.
Sick. It is the Northern.
It is the Northern.
Is that the Northern Lights?
Do you ever feel like you're talking to yourself?
No, I'm listening. I had this going on my screen. I was gonna have it as a backdrop for us, and then all of a sudden, I see that. But anyway, but it goes back to my thing with the playoffs. I won't even agree with it because I don't agree with expanding the playoffs or anything like that because there hasn't been a number 5 team that's ever deserved to be the national champion. If you're going to base it off the season.
Yep.
If you do away with the season and want to have a tournament, then maybe just start off the season with a 128 bracket, and let's just go. And some teams play one game, and some teams play
12,
whatever it is. So
That'd probably save a lot of fans a lot of money too.
So yeah, I wouldn't even entertain anything like that, I guess,
Yeah.
because I can't even get. I can't.
Automatic bids are.
I can't comprehend that.
It's an idiotic decision.
But if you don't, then the SEC will have.
Well, guess who the best conference has been for the past 15 years? Again, didn't have the greatest record when it came to bowls this year, but who's it been the national champion? I mean,
Do you want to expand the playoffs to do all
And-
that kind of stuff?
yeah. And again,
The
give
SEC is going to have 4
and
teams
give
in
teams
it.
like Clemson their
Expand it.
fair due. Clemson have been a powerhouse in.
Expanded to where Vanderbilt makes the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, essentially,
Yeah, let's
that's what
have
we're
a-
getting to.
Yeah, let's have a 180 team thing. That way,
If you win one game this year, you're in the playoffs.
Or you qualify for the tournament next year.
Yeah.
everybody gets a trophy.
Yep.
I
I
mean,
mean,
What you got next?
that was it for my next year's
And if you
improvement of college football.
and feel free to comment if you agree with everybody
I'm
gets a
very
trophy.
curious to.
Or
see what
again,
you
if y'all
think.
have any extra, if y'all have any takes about what might improve college football next year, leave them in the comments. We might bring them up on a.
If you had to pick one
a later
thing
episode?
that you could add into college football, you can't take away anything. Like you can't take away a playoff. What would you add in?
To improve the game or just the entertainment factor?
Both.
Trampolines.
No.
Like into the game or to the whole thing.
Either or.
I think that the
Either or.
So I can't add trampolines?
No.
Dang it.
I think
Trampolines are real.
maybe the only thing I can think is if we're having the playoffs right now is I'm not opposed to the top team in the playoff getting the home field advantage. Now you can have the championship wherever you want to have it,
I like that.
but the other one is
The top 2 seeds get their
the
home
top
field.
to get the home field advantage. I
So,
mean,
my question for that.
in case you haven't been there, most other teams, speaking to you, they the tickets are ridiculous. You're not going to get to go to the game, so
We went to the national championship a couple years ago. Which game was in California? Was that the national championship where they lost to Clemson?
That was playing against Clemson.
But they weren't even. We sat around people who weren't Clemson and weren't Alabama.
yeah, they weren't
fans.
even. We were sitting around people who just wanted to come out to a football. They were 49er fans.
they were Californians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like,
And-
we're not for anybody. We just came out to the
But
game. I mean, like, you don't get your fans don't
No, because
make
people
it to the game.
you can't afford to fly there, buy a hotel, and the ticket. I mean, it was
It's
just someone.
insane.
They were
And-
people, and they were
and-
very nice people. They were fine. They came out and they had a good time. But they lived down the street. They
And-
weren't Alabama. They weren't Clemson fans. And I guarantee you, obviously, those weren't the
You're
only
going to
people
get
there
a
that were
better
just there
experience,
because-
even if. And I'll go back to being an Alabama fan. If Alabama has to play whoever in the playoff,
And you play 4 games.
and Alabama is not the home team, and they have to go to there, you're going to get a better. I mean, I would rather go to the other team's stadium, and you're getting a better college experience of a football game
100%.
because. I mean, if you think that's not fair, then that's too bad. You played the whole season playing half your games away, so you
Yep.
just got to get used to it.
Especially I would much prefer to go to
Once
a Penn
again, the
State.
Northern Lights.
I would much prefer to go to a Penn State stadium and watch Alabama versus Penn State as opposed to
I
going
think more
to,
people would be interested in. I mean, more people
Yeah.
would be interested in, even if they said you have to sell more tickets to the fans because you only get X amount of tickets to those games. But if you had to sell more tickets to the
Yeah.
fans, more people are going to go to that game than they're going to go to.
And again, it's more. I personally think it's a more enjoyable experience.
Also, whenever you get
Mostly because all the other stadiums we've been to have not been very good.
Well-
Brandon is a very nice stadium, and I'm sure there are certain stadiums out there that would have the opposite problem. If you go there, it's not a very nice stadium. It's not set up for that kind of environment. But a lot of the stadiums we've been to haven't been that great.
Several people joining in on the chat if they want to comment, throw out their comment for this and let us know what they think.
I would also say that every time you get a playoff game or a national championship game or a Super Bowl, everyone's like, "Oh, wouldn't it be magical if the home team if it's in like Indianapolis and the Colts make it to the Super Bowl? Wouldn't it be magical if they could play a Super Bowl in their hometown? Or wouldn't it be magical if Georgia could play a national championship in Atlanta?" Well, make it that every year. Make the semifinal game a home game for the top seed every year. I like that rule. Mine would be, I had two. I had one and I just totally lost it. Yeah, I remember what it is. It's less realistic, but I think interesting. I read it somewhere the other day on Instagram. It said, in a playoff setting, if you beat a team, you get to pick up one player off of the opposite squad that you want to incorporate in your next game.
And you said I couldn't add trampolines. You're
Yes.
talking about fantasy.
I'm talking about transfer portal.
I think that's a little more
So you beat the team, then you get to steal a
You
player.
got to pick one player. And like for Bama, it'd be like, oh, we lost John Mechie. Let's pick up. I don't know who. Somebody from Cincinnati we could have got. I'm sure they got a good receiver out there somewhere. That's a genius move. There was another one I had that was a little more realistic, and I can't for the life of me
Fans
think of what
calling
it was.
plays.
They have that as a league nowadays.
Isn't that in the?
Where
Isn't
Johnny
that in
Manziel
the?
plays.
Isn't that in the
XFL?
Whatever.
No, it's the fan controlled league.
fan control?
FCL. What's yours, Brock?
I don't know. It sounds stupid, but I'm genuinely stuck on trampolines. I can't not think of something stupid like that.
Well, trampolines would be better in basketball.
That would be cool too.
100%. They have that. They have that too.
I would say they have
Is that in the?
Yeah,
It's like the XFL version of basketball.
yeah. It's pretty interesting to watch. It's kind of fun. Or like, they should add that to like. Have y'all seen competitive tag?
That would give.
Yes.
But that would be like if you added trampolines in basketball. That would be like short people would have a
They would
They would
have a chance.
Someone like me who could play
You know,
basketball.
a very limber person could leap. I mean, I can't see LeBron James on the trampoline doing very well.
No.
No. Okay, here's something I think, and I think this is more of a logistical thing, and I'm sure they do this. But
I
for
remember
me,
what I was going to say.
But for me, something that would be huge is being something in place to retain coaches, because especially again, this might just be, I guess, like first
Other
world
than
problems.
money.
Yeah,
in
but
contracts.
like, well, that's why like you have to like, in some way, keeping continuity with your team would make your teams better. So all these teams that have decent offensive coordinators and decent defensive coordinators just loaning their coaches out to all these other programs, no wonder your program isn't improving. You're not building a team around the personnel that you have. You're going 2 years and you have a system that you play at and a way that you like to play, and then your offensive coordinator leaves and your system's done and you have to rebuild with somebody new.
Bama's missed
That's the only-
Bama's missed 4 free throws in a row, and LSU's now within 1 point.
What'd you say that? What were you about to say?
You know, I don't know. That's just a
And that might be a
professional
cultural thing too.
professional move up the ladder for some people. You know, they're
Yeah.
just. But some teams
But I think that would
are
make
stuck
college
with
football.
coaches they want to get rid of
Yeah,
that they can't.
but I think that would make everyone talks about how do you topple the monopoly of football. Look at these programs and what do they have in common? They have consistent head coaches. They have Alabama is
So
some of the just
most have
cycle through,
a
but-
good bit have consistent.
So a
head
couple of
coaches.
people are watching on the chat and everything. So or they're watching. So just throw that question again. See if they want to comment on what your
what would improve college football next season? Like a rule, a stipulation.
I've got my realistic one back that I remembered. What I was gonna say is that if you watch like rugby, that anytime the referees delegate with each other, you can hear what they're talking about. I think that would be a big improvement, and as far like holding refs accountable, I think that's a big improvement towards college football.
I agree.
I would say that's my biggest rule.
referee microphones.
Yeah, being able to listen to what the referees talk about whenever they're delegating between the two. That would be my rule.
And I agree because I talk about this a lot as well in like the MMA community. Judges should have to like you get a lot of like weird judges decisions based on fights. They have to sit or they just sit down after the game and explain what they saw in the call. Like you get the referee, and if there's a controversial call,
Ooh, that would be a good
That-
show. The
I would say-
referee.
yeah, that would be a great.
Welcome to the referee post game show.
Please make these free
Like they
throws,
have
Bama, please.
to go sit down and go through each call and tell you why they made that.
The players sit down after the game and give their press conference, and the referees
should have to do the
sit
exact same
down and give a press conference after the game. And
because we talked about this last night too. Players are they're a product of the school and system that they play in. They are told to go out there and do a job. They're told to go out there and run a play. They go out there and run that play or do that job to the best of their ability. Officials have free reign. They there's some oversight, obviously.
I've never heard of an official being fired because of a bad call.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
so.
it's-
Why are they
Probably
not held?
probably in the NFL that would be college. I don't know, but NFL most definitely because it's in entertainment. It's
And you cannot
And
tell
it's-
me that would not be
But
entertaining to
I
watch.
think for college nowadays, it would, because now players are getting paid, but also it's about the referees are there to maintain the safety of the players. And for college kids, I feel like you got to maintain that
Well,
safety a little bit better.
I was going to bring this up later, but now's a good time because Dallas, everybody freaked out
Oh,
because
yeah,
they
the-
thought Dallas. I'm sure Dallas fan, and I would have probably initially been upset because of the end of the game.
Thank God Bama won that game.
Roll Tide.
So, I mean, I guess y'all know what I'm talking about. The
Yes.
end of the Dallas game and
the
the
referee controversy.
supposedly got in the way, but
What do you guys think about that?
but
Do you
the-
think the referee is in the wrong there?
no, I think the announcers went back and they kind of went.
They kind of went to bat for the referees
They-
a little bit.
Well, initially they were like, "Oh, the fans are going to be mad," but the referee is in the rules, I guess, that the referee has to touch the ball
Yeah, he
before
has
it
to
is
set it.
spotted. And the other thing is, everybody's complaining about the referee. Why aren't you complaining about on second down and one with 14 seconds left? Why aren't you throwing a pass to the end zone instead of running it for 15 yards? I mean,
here's my thing with that play. I don't.
I think it was set up to pass, wasn't it? He just
it,
took
it
off.
was a
Yeah.
pass play and they ran. But
just you're not going to have time.
my thing is, as a quarterback, he slid down with 6 seconds to go.
6 seconds to go.
I think you scramble forward, you get your 10 yards, you make it a 10-yard shorter throw, but make sure you can slide down with double digits on that clock. He let it go all the way down to like 6 seconds. You know you have no timeouts. You know while he's running, he's looking at that clock, saying, "Okay, I got to get down quick." But as soon as
go straight out of
as
bounds.
soon as the play is dead, get forward, get 10 yards, slide down, spike the ball with 4 seconds to go.
So that goes back to the referee could have explained after, and the announcers did a good job of explaining the rule afterwards. Even right after the fact, they talked about it. But the referees could also, but they were, people were throwing things at the referee. People were going off on the referees.
And I will say, like one of the best parts about the broadcast nowadays is they have the official expert or whatever come on and explain situations. But I think it would be better if we had the refs themselves talk us through what they saw.
Here, my problem, the only thing with that is when you get into like weird moments like that, it makes
It's
it
almost unprecedented. Like it's
Well,
hard as a referee
no,
to kind of.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you make it where the ref has to articulate what they're like talking about. They're not speakers. They're not like public figures. They don't know how to talk to people.
But you still have to be able
But-
to justify a call.
But my thing is, whenever it gets to that point, it becomes like arguing with the ref. And like if you ever played sports, you know that
no,
arguing,
yeah, you
arguing
can't.
with
No,
the
see,
ref never
doesn't-
gets anywhere.
No, see what
But-
I think the format, you don't have anyone on there to debate them. You sit them down and you go, this play right here, tell us what you saw and why you made that call. And then the fans can debate after. But that is all that goes on during this show.
Yeah, and that's fine. My only thing with that is I think the referee has to make a clear and obvious error before they make it to that point.
No, I disagree. I
Because,
think I
well-
think they should justify 9 because again,
But
if you make 4 bad calls in a game, they're small, but they're bad calls. Like they're not game changing. They won't affect the outcome of a football game, but they're 4 bad calls. And then that ref moves on to another game. And then he moves on to a bigger game. And then he's doing the Super Bowl. He's doing the playoffs. And he makes bad calls that affect the game. That's how you end up with bad referees
Yeah.
in these positions.
and that's true, but at the same time, we were just talking about referees and how they make mistakes, and that's part of the human error of the game.
Well, I agree, but you also have to but if it's just a bad referee making bad calls, you have to catch that earlier.
Well, yeah, and I agree with that. But my only thing is you can't get it to like if you've decided, and we've all decided that the referee made the right decision, like there was no error in the referee's thing, sitting them down and saying, well, why did you do this thing that you did? Everyone thinks it's an error, even though we know it's not.
You're automatically putting them.
You're
in a
automatically
critical-
putting them in a hard spot because then if they go out there and they say something wrong, or like something slips out, or they say something that's a little bit
Or maybe
like,
you just have a show. The referees can participate or not, and just if they want to get on it.
I feel
and
like with some they have to participate, like with a targeting call. Like they're not wrong in their decision, but they have to go on there and explain why they said it. With the call like that, I feel like you're like sitting down in the spotlight where obviously there's going to be upset fans. Obviously there's going to be fans that are okay with the call, and then there's going to be like a gray area in there. I think having the rules official for that one is fine. and you can't sit them down and say, okay, well, all the rules official agree with what you did, but defend yourself now.
Okay, let's just say. I don't know. Even then, because I was gonna say we can just do controversial calls, but again, if you have a game that's a blowout that doesn't matter and no one cares about, and it's towards the end of the game, but the ref's making bad calls either way, I would want to know that ref has been making bad calls.
Well, yeah, that's.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what you have to weed out. So you make them sit down after the game, public or not, I don't care. But there has to be oversight on.
Well, there probably is. They probably do have to.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they go through.
But as the public, we would also like to know why they made a certain call.
Well, yeah, but
I'm sure.
But my thing is with
like
a
couple of years ago, the pass interference against crap, it just slipped my mind. It was a big NFL game. Basically, the last play of the game.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the.
Well,
I know what you're talking about, but it was whenever the NFL the referees were on strike or whatever.
Yeah, but I want that ref to sit down and tell me why he didn't make a call there.
But yeah, and yeah, I don't disagree with that. But my thing is the Cowboys game this weekend. I don't think you have to make that ref defend himself.
I think he was. I mean, the referee was the referee was right. I mean,
I think you have to get someone else on saying what he did wrong. Instead of sitting him down saying,
I'm not saying you question them and make them defend themselves. All I'm saying is you sit them down and you go, walk us through this call. What you saw, how you felt about it, what went on.
And I'm pretty. I would think that they probably would.
I mean, yeah,
but in public, I would like for them to do that in public.
Yeah, I mean,
because I'm sure they do all this behind the scenes. But because they could change somebody's mind about a call. If someone saw something and went, "That is the worst call I have ever seen in my entire life," and this ref should blah 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 blah, all this other stuff we say.
That's the biggest problem. I don't think people would change their mind. There is no you're gonna get.
But you'll never know
somebody,
until you try.
You're gonna get somebody saying, "Oh well, the referee should have been faster to get to the ball."
At worst, all they do is leave with the same opinion they came in with.
Or you get people the opposite side, and it makes it worse. If if the referee sits down and says something that he didn't mean to say, or he screws something up,
but it's not like a live studio broadcast. Like you sit them down and you.
I would want it live.
You can't have. That's where we're having
next week. Did you hear about?
Yeah.
That's where we're having a miscommunication because half those shows that are live are not live. They just say they're live.
But then you're gonna get an edited version of what the referees say.
We're live.
We are live. When we say we're live, we are actually live. We just finished that.
Unless you're watching a rerun.
Unless you're watching a replay. In which case, we're not live. But we could be. Go check our channel. We might still be live.
Well, like I said, there was just people going off the chains at the refs.
But
and I would probably have the same reaction initially. Then I'd probably be, whatever. I guess the ref was right, but I'm still mad about it. But
I would be incredibly upset.
But you still have to look at what your team was doing at the time, and you can't blame the ref because your team screwed up. There could have been a better call for Dallas. There could have been a better thing,
or there could have been.
And he didn't know the rule about the referee. They take some time with spotting the ball, didn't get out of the way, all that stuff, all that. So whatever happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen, and there can be no complaints.
I think there could be a mending to the overall rule of that. Maybe the clock starts whenever the referee spots the ball down, like something like that.
Because they do sometimes they take forever to get out of the way.
It can take a long time to spot the ball. So I mean, there's ways I think that the referees could benefit from a slight rule change, maybe. So I don't know.
And again,
it's so few and far between.
It's like a rare thing that people would make. If they made that rule a year ago, everyone would say, "Well, why are you making this? Has never affected a game before, but now it has."
Yeah.
So my only thing is, I just think that in big decisions, like in rugby, it's if you get a red card, if you send a player off, you have to explain, or you hear like them talking over the broadcast saying, "Well, I saw this during this play, and
he said this."
Yeah, something like that. That's what I was saying. That should be that would be my benefit to the game.
They probably have that in rugby because not many people watch. I don't know how many people watch rugby.
It's pretty big.
It's bigger overseas, I think.
But
does that make it more entertaining too?
Yeah. My thing is, do they do it?
And it's more informative as a fan. I want to know why someone made a call that they made.
My only thing is, do you do it nowadays to protect referees? Like, that would be the only thing, is if the referees say something, then it's like, oh, well, our referees no longer have that kind of like level of protection that they've always had.
Like what?
But it holds them accountable.
I think I don't think you're gonna get a ref on there who's gonna say something so egregious
or
so stupid
that's not what I'm saying.
He's gonna like incriminate himself and
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, is if you get one guy saying, "Oh, well, I saw this," and you get one guy saying, "Oh, well, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. We weren't really paying attention." Okay, well, maybe you should watch the play a little bit better.
But then maybe that goes to like the discipline of the referees as well.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying they're going to say anything to incriminate themselves.
I think-
I'm just saying that
I think referees should work out before the game.
there's one guy that does. He's got
It's like-
giant arms. But it's, I don't know.
First down.
I never think that they're going to like say anything to like incriminate themselves or say,
So-
I don't like
so-
this player, so I flagged him.
So,
Nothing like
but
that.
so then what? So when you say you think they're going to go up there and they're going to make a mistake in saying something, what do you mean?
If one referee walks up there and it says, well, I saw the quarterback on the ground after the play was over. I didn't really see anybody hit him, but I threw the flag anyway because there was a guy in the backfield and he's on the ground.
But do you not understand that's holding someone accountable then?
Well, yeah, that's what this rule's for. It's to hold somebody accountable.
But what I'm saying is I think that's a good thing. I think they should have to sit down and say that.
Yeah, I
Oh, okay, so I thought you were disagreeing. I thought you were saying they shouldn't do that.
I was saying that the league might think that.
That's where we're having.
No,
I thought you were saying this
that-
personally.
No, I was saying that the league might say it no longer protects their referees.
But I don't think it's the league's job to protect their referees.
No, it's not. But what I'm saying is the reason they're not going to do that is because of that very
They're
reason.
also not going to let you like beat a team and then take a player off their team. We're talking hypotheticals here. Like just in the hypothetical sense, we're talking about a show that the referees.
I'm
have to
not
come
talking
on.
about a show. I'm talking about
a show
during the game.
No, not during the game. After the game.
No, I'm talking about during the game.
No, see that again. That's where.
Well, no, but I wasn't saying a show. I'm talking about during the game. A rugby referee.
No, but then we moved on to where after the game you have to sit down and justify your calls. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, but only if it's like.
You don't have to go through every single call, but
Yeah, only if it's a clear and obvious error.
or not even a clear and obvious error. If someone assumes it was wrong, and you can go on there and justify
We
and say,
have a comment from a viewer. I will break in here.
and you can,
If
correct
possible, they should report the rule from the rule book for official reference.
that would be like
Well,
when
but
the
that's
Thank
what the-
you,
but is that
Mark
not,
Bucksbaum.
but
for
is
that
that,
comment.
but is that not what the rules official does for the broadcast anyway?
sometimes, but not all the time.
I think they do a pretty
No,
good
but if he
job of it.
cites, but like if he can go and like I think what he's saying is you cite the official rule.
Oh, like the
so-
litigation of
Yeah,
it?
so people can make their own decisions.
But
If you're that invested, you can go look at.
yeah,
rule-
but then if it's got like big words in it or something like that, someone might take the
So?
reading of it wrong. But
Well,
but,
then-
but that's what
okay.
a rule official's for.
Okay, but I'm saying I agree. I think the more information, the better for a fan.
Well, yeah, that's fine.
So there's no harm in it.
But I'm saying I think a rules official does that more effectively.
Okay, but I'm saying
It'd be like
for
a,
someone like me or you, where we want to know the official ruling,
Well,
like
yeah.
on some, especially something
They
like
really wanna
targeting.
know. Keep on going.
But especially something like targeting. If he goes on there and explains, well, this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened, and this is why. If you want to know more, you can look at this.
well, yeah, I mean that's fine. But I don't want them to read it out or anything.
Well, no, I don't either. But make it digestible, but also give more information so your audience can obtain more information if they.
Well,
so choose.
yeah, and that's what the rules officials are for. I think they're there to give the audience a better insight of what the officials are thinking
But I
about.
think
or saying.
all he was saying was just give them more as well.
Oh, well,
if
yeah,
they want
that's
to.
fine. I mean, I agree with informing the public about the rule. My point was I was just saying that I think that having a look into what the officials do, like during every play, is important. And if they're doing it wrong, they need to be held accountable for it. But also at the same time, you can't have. You're never going to change some people's minds. Some people are always just going to say, "Oh, the referees suck because they did this to my team. I remember this one call that they made, so they suck in my mind." I do that with soccer all the time. I'll see one
But-
referee and be like, "God, why do we have
but-
this guy again?"
But again, if that referee has to come on after the game, like the Arsenal match a couple weeks ago, horrendous refereeing.
Yep.
If the referee has to sit down and go, I made these calls because of this reason, I guarantee you next time, and they're bad reasons, I guarantee next time he goes in there and sits down or gets called to officiate a match, he won't make the same calls because of those reasons.
And I agree with that. If you're making obvious errors, like I was saying, that's a different issue. Whenever, if you make 4 bad calls in a game, they're not huge calls like you were saying, that's an issue as well. But whenever
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
But whenever you're not even making, like in the Dallas game, whenever you're not even making a call,
No, that
whenever you're doing your job and people get on your back about it.
no, but I'm not even arguing for that. I'm just arguing games in general. That was just
Well, yeah, that's fine. But like I said, the reason that nobody's going to do it is because it takes away that blanket of cover from the officials.
Well, I agree, and again, maybe it's coming because like I watching UFC and boxing and all this, and the refs, they're kind of like their own sports personalities. They'll sit down, like Herb Dean made a call a couple years ago that people did not like. He sat down on Joe Rogan's podcast and explained the whole thing. I think and people then turn. It's like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad of a call. Maybe we were upset about something that we shouldn't have been. So maybe as football fans who like being angry at the refs, that you humanize these refs a little bit more and make them more, not personalities of the game, but you let their personalities come into the game and you can kind of humanize them. And like, they're not going to get everything right. They never will.
No, they never will.
So the worst thing you can do is assume they will. So when they come on there, if they admit a mistake, they admit a mistake. If they make a wrong call, they can admit that wrong call and say, I did this because I thought this.
The only problem with admitting a mistake that might change a game, then it turns into something different altogether.
See, but this is a perfect segue because we were going to talk about this as well. How do you correct a mistake in a game that is already passed? So
you have to get it right on the spot.
But that's not where I'm not talking about like a penalty or something like that. So we were calling a basketball game last night. The game ended, one team won by 1 point. We went back and rewatched the footage, and there was a discrepancy in the score by 1 point.
Favoring the team that won. So it should have been a tie ball
So it should have ended a tie ball game. And like,
no one picked that up until we went to dinner after that.
And in the end, it's up to it's.
So this is a perfect segue into this. How
you don't. Once it's over, it's over.
But I'm saying, as a league, as a committee, as whatever, are there steps to be taken to correct these problems? Do you call it a no contest? Do you call it the way it should have been?
No, you got it when I think in looking at the rules, especially maybe in high school where it might happen more or happen everywhere.
Definitely happens more.
But college, I looked up games that the score was wrong and I couldn't find any. The only thing that I found was somebody running the wrong way on a fumble and running for a touchdown.
We talked about earlier. Auburn
actually, the guy ran the wrong. It was in the 60s. The guy picked up a fumble.
He ran the opposite way and he got tackled by his own team.
No, he ran the wrong way and he went to the end zone and he said, "Well, I finally figured out I did something wrong when the other team was hugging me." And he got us.
Or it's like we talked about earlier before the show. Auburn getting
but I couldn't find a professional sport. I think there's been spots in professional sports where there's been a 5th down or only 3 downs.
I was literally just saying, like, as we were talking about Auburn earlier this year, got screwed out of a down. They only got 3 downs as opposed to 4. Or Penn State got screwed out.
And I think that's happened, but I don't think that's ever happened with maybe the score. Just like in our instance,
I highly
in our instance, the score it was such a weird situation, and whatever happened. But I think once the game is over, and it's not caught anywhere. Whatever happened.
Okay, so this brings me back to the referee argument. If if there's an egregious call by a referee, it has nothing to do with the players, nothing to do with the coaches. If there's especially in basketball, when you can get called for a shooting foul or whatever, and it can really change the game quickly.
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah. How do you stop officials from making egregious calls?
Make them better.
They're part of the game.
Part of the game.
But that's what I'm saying. So you have to hold them accountable for what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. You should hold a referee accountable 100%. I hold them accountable every time I yell at them on the court.
But I mean, hold them accountable in an official sense.
Yeah, and like I said, I 100% agree with that. The guy who gave Penn State 3 downs instead of 4 against Auburn should have something come against him.
Yeah, I guarantee he didn't.
Well, no, he didn't. Do you know?
He might have.
Do you know?
But
we don't know what happens behind the scenes.
But I'm saying, as the public, we should know, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't think that's for the public's.
I still think it's part of the game
because it's a company. The way I see it is, the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or the SEC, they hire people into a company that they trust to do the job. If they don't do the job correctly, then they will get fired or they will be demoted or whatever will happen. But that's not for the public's business.
But I think the biggest problem with that is it doesn't really affect the company or the higher-ups. It affects the players and the teams more than anybody else.
Well, yeah, but
because again, if a team gets screwed out of a game, essentially, It doesn't affect the Big Ten. It doesn't affect the Pac-12. I mean, if it's like Clemson this year when they kind of crap the bed and no one really watched their games, it obviously affects the broadcast and them that way. But
So should schools have their own officials?
no,
But that's what I'm saying. How do you fix that?
holding them accountable
Well, yeah, and we've
in the public eye.
see. I don't think you can do it in the
Well,
public
they're
eye.
probably held accountable anyway because they're on television. And
Yeah,
you can
I mean,
But
rewind it. And,
but again, soccer is the perfect example. Who's the referee you hate?
well, y'all
refereeing Arsenal
are
games?
soccer, so y'all.
No, but I'm saying
y'all
this
hold these.
in soccer. It has a little bit more
Oh,
impact.
no.
Soccer has more impact.
They're football referees. I hate us having as well.
Yeah. They're football referees. I just can't. Who's the referee you hate, man? doing the
Michael
Arsenal?
Oliver.
Yeah, Michael Oliver. You
worst
hate him.
official I've ever seen. Him and Mike Dean.
I said Mike Dean too. I was
Two of the
thinking about.
worst officials I've ever seen coach the game. But or referee the game.
But again, they're never.
so
I think being an Arsenal fan, you have a little bit of a bias. I like Arsenal as well, but
well, one of them's a Spurs fan, so they
yeah,
root
exactly.
against
So
Arsenal. My whole thing
screwed out of it
is
anyways.
what you're saying is we should hold referees accountable in the public eye, and I think to a point. You don't. I don't see it as holding them accountable. I see it as a chance for them to explain themselves to the public,
Well,
not
that
necessarily
too.
being held accountable.
Well, I said that too. Maybe they can change if someone goes in their minds and they go,
Well,
"This
yeah.
guy made." What I said that earlier. You said no one would change their mind,
I mean, they probably won't.
but at least it gives them a chance.
But at the same time, you shouldn't like sit them down and make them feel like they have to defend
Well,
themselves.
I'm not saying you put them in like the stockades and you start
Well,
throwing
no,
apples
that's
at
not
them.
what I'm saying.
But
What-
like, you give them the chance to explain why they made the call they made.
But at the same time, it automatically makes them look like they're defending themselves.
They are.
But if it's a call that everyone agrees is the right call, you shouldn't have.
But
to.
if it's a call that everyone agrees is the wrong call,
okay,
they
well
have
then yeah, you do.
But that's what I'm saying. You have to do it on right and wrong calls.
I don't think you have to do it on right calls.
And you guys watching on YouTube,
So people wanted debates, and now
leave your
arguing about this.
But it's the
because
same
this is a
thing.
back and
So okay,
forth.
let me ask you this.
That's not going to end.
No, it won't.
It's just.
I say we're gonna have to
so-
end it like just. But okay, let me ask you this. I'll end on this.
Okay.
What is the criteria? How do you determine if a ref made a call that he has to defend in
When
public?
it's a clear and obvious decision. Whenever you give somebody 3 downs rather than 4 downs.
So that's the only time.
Whenever you don't call a penalty, whenever you don't call a targeting call, whenever there is a targeting call, whenever you do the opposite, anytime that you see a clear and obvious, the one we looked at a couple weeks ago, whenever Michigan versus South Carolina, whenever the referee spotted the ball short of the first down, gave them the first down.
Or when the guy kicked the ball backwards during the was that one? When it was a couple years ago, they put the ball down and in the mark. Or no, he stands up and he goes. Did he say it was first down or short? I can't remember. Is that the one you're talking about? He puts the ball down and it's clearly short of the marker and he goes first
Yeah,
down.
that's
Yeah.
South Carolina, but then
Yeah.
Jadavian Clowney, cleared that up.
Yeah.
But anytime you make decisions like that, like I don't want the referee going out there and saying, oh well, the Jameson Williams hit, it was a targeting call, blah blah blah.
Why not?
Because I know it's a targeting call.
Okay, so how about this? You have a targeting call. What is it? You have to if you commit a targeting call in the second half of a game, you have to miss the first half of the next game.
Yep.
What about them?
Fine with me.
They have to defend it or they don't.
I don't.
What if it's a horrendously bad targeting call?
Well, I mean, if you
But,
get,
but that's what I'm asking.
Okay,
In the process of the game, how do you determine?
I would say this:
What is
if
it,
you
what is
get
egregious
it
enough?
where so we have a rules official that comes in every game, right? If
Yeah.
you get someone higher up than that says it's a bad call, it's a bad call.
So maybe like a committee of.
Well, but they have a committee of referees anyway.
But
I'm
but
sure
I'm
they
saying,
go
but
over all this.
But all
stuff.
I'm asking is, how do we determine what they have to defend publicly and not? Do we go to a committee for it, and if they vote majority, like you have
could,
to go.
but at this, I'm sure they already have that committee in
But
place.
again, not in public. That's all I'm asking.
And this
Well, yeah,
debate
and that's
will
fine.
not.
Well, but hold on.
No.
What I'm saying is,
I'm sure they have all this behind the scenes, but I want it to be a public thing.
okay, and that's fine. And like I said, it probably will never be, unfortunately.
I agree.
But at the same time, you're just saying hold everybody accountable. It's like again, it's like a business. If you run a business and you have an employee run a meeting correctly, like we'll say the Dallas guy, the guy against the Cowboys did, he made the correct call. You're not going to then sit that guy down after the meeting and say, why did you do what you did?
Because maybe he'll change people's minds that he made the right call.
But maybe he's going to make it worse for himself.
How would he possibly? You are a Dallas Cowboys fan, and you watch that game, and you are like to the point where you will throw him off a balcony if you see him. How is he possibly going to make that worse?
I mean, he can just make it worse.
How? Give me say you're the referee and you're sitting down, and there's
But
someone.
whose mind is he going to change?
maybe the casual fan who's like, I don't agree with that call.
But everyone agreed with the call, except for Dallas Cowboy fans.
Maybe you get a Dallas Cowboy fan who goes, this guy's a
They're
human
insane.
too.
They're never going to change.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. But it will do more good than harm. I think it will do more good than harm.
And I agree with that.
So then why not implement it?
Because at some point it's like a non-issue.
But it is an issue because we have these kind of situations every year.
Name more than 2.
Dang it. You knew I was going to say 2.
Because you were going to say the Dallas Cowboy thing and the Auburn thing.
No.
Or the South Carolina
the
thing.
pass interference a couple years ago. The dude smoked homeboy before he in the NFL.
Pass interference.
The one we were talking about earlier. Crap.
Like I said, name 2 that happened this year. That's a clear and obvious error.
Well, this year, I mean, I didn't watch. I watched mostly Alabama games.
Name it from an Alabama game or anywhere in the SEC that mattered.
Okay, are we talking about clear and obvious or controversial? Because again,
Something that everyone generally agrees was wrong by the officials.
depends on what fan base you ask. Let me think. That's not helping.
See, I just don't think it happens enough to where it's an issue where it should be a public matter.
I disagree.
Okay,
But
so
you
y'all,
you can't name
you
2.
disagree. and
Because
you're
I'm not. Because I was not. If I sat down and
So,
watched half of the season, I could
I'm
come up
gonna
with more than 2.
interject here. So you want to see it,
Yes.
and you disagree. So that's just,
Oh, no,
that's
it's not that I don't want to
that's-
see it, but the level.
we got it.
But the level of it has to be higher than you said this is a holding call. It's not. It's kind of a holding call.
But again, that's what I'm saying. You have to determine the criteria. That's all I was saying. Is maybe
so
you go to a committee.
what are your criteria?
I think a committee is a very good idea. I think if, especially as a business, if my business, because the SEC refs were, how do we say, undeniably not very good this year. They made some, and anytime you got an SEC ref for your game, most people were not pleased about it. Oh,
I'm looking up referee committee
I
right now.
I gotta cheat. Hold on.
Everybody's on their phones.
Someone sent me a text message.
I'm looking up referee committee right now.
Tennessee Purdue game. Apparently, there was a really bad call in that game.
Oh man, that did have a lot of national implications.
But okay,
I'm
that
kidding.
ref calls
I'm
that
kidding.
game, and then he goes
Tennessee.
Tennessee Purdue.
Purdue.
And Bradley texted you that.
No, Mark texted me. That.
Mark
Shout out to Mark's Bucks Bomb. Thank you.
Comment it next time, Mark.
But thank you, sir. He's backing me up here. I don't know what happened in that game, but it was a call. But again,
Okay, so
do you know who the referee was in that game? How do you know he wasn't officiating a semifinal game?
Because he officiated Tennessee Purdue.
But they get random assignments.
But if no, they don't.
Okay, well they get assigned
they get
games
selected
based on
for
merit.
games. Yeah,
But I'm saying he could have ref that game then.
If you referee that game and you make a clear and obvious error, I'm sure it's dealt with internally. And okay, maybe, and I agree that it should also be known to the public about that. Yeah, this is how it was dealt with because we all generally agree as a committee that this was a wrong call. But I don't think you have to sit referees down in the spotlight and say defend this call, even though the committee agrees it's a good call.
so
But again,
y'all,
I've said this 5 times. It's not on calls everyone says is right.
So you
It's
have your
calls they
opinion,
think
and
is
you have
wrong.
your opinion,
Okay,
and
that's fine.
referees
And
are
that's what we can agree on that.
there.
Yeah,
So
I agree on that.
you're
Okay,
not-
but
y'all are not going to be.
That's not what I was arguing against.
But
then.
you were arguing the one that the Dallas thing saying that. Oh,
No, but I'm not saying he was wrong, but it was a controversial call.
so any controversial call should be talked about.
Even if they think it's right, because as a business, say you're a business owner and you do something that is inevitably right, but everyone thinks is wrong, so you're colored in a bad light. Would you rather come out and explain
It's-
why that was the right thing?
It's just an opinion.
Okay, then that's a difference of opinion.
So okay.
No, but that's just a difference of opinion.
But nobody thinks that the Dallas guy was wrong.
I guarantee you can't
Aside
say.
from Dallas fan,
And
nobody on
you-
this referee committee would say that the guy did it wrong.
But there might be a massive, not a massive fan base,
But we're talking about But if you're saying a massive fan base, if everybody wants Alabama to lose against Georgia, the massive fan base of all the Alabama
But
haters will say,
I'm not saying they get say in the call. I'm just saying some people would like that call explained to them.
okay, but we were
So
talking
all he
about-
goes, he sits down and goes, "It's our job to put the ball on the spot, not the players." He put it on the spot. It took me longer to get the ball. I had to wrestle the ball away from him and put it down. That cost him 2 seconds. Done. End up. That's all he has to do.
But
I'm not saying he has to go give a whole thesis on.
But the rules
like-
official explains that.
He did, yeah, he explained it on the television
Okay,
broadcast.
And that's fine. I'm just saying, I think it would also be helpful as a fan of the sport to have more.
This is going on too long. and I
Yeah, this
agree.
is going on way too long.
But
No, it's only been an hour of ref talking about.
Yeah, I
that,
say we
that
didn't
one
mean to
play.
go
It's
here at
only
all.
been. It's only been. I've been watching the time. It's only been 1 hour.
Yeah.
still.
Because the funny thing is, we agree on most of
And-
this. Well, what?
So I'm.
But I agree with you on pretty much everything about it, except for the fact that they
Meanwhile-
shouldn't have to defend the correct call.
And we disagree there, and that's fine. It took us an hour to get to that.
Should referees have
this to the fans.
have to defend the call that is generally
They've already
accepted?
left. People have already left.
Yeah, they probably
they're
have.
not. They're not listening anymore.
But I'm not saying defend.
That was such a
just
sick
saying-
point.
Not
The-
listening.
The Australian
Explain
Open's
certain
back
things.
on now.
And
Oh, dude,
Djokovic
look
is
at
in it.
look! Oh, you missed his face. Hold on, let me go back.
So they're not.
Anyways, we can move on from this because I think that'll pretty much wrap up the show. We've gone for an hour and a half.
Look at his face. Look at his face. He cannot believe the shot that was just hit. You can't say it on the broadcast.
No,
I'm
you
sorry
can't.
because it's the Australian Open and we'll probably get copyrighted. This was an awesome point, but watch his face whenever the point is over. That was pretty great.
Okay, I have one
Yeah.
last topic that's completely unrelated to all of this.
Look at this. Look at his face. That's great. Go ahead.
The came out recently that Nick Saban was a proponent of a certain bill that is a controversial bill. I think it was the voting rights bill or something or other. Should sports owners be? And there was something else that came out recently that was a little more egregious in my mind. The Golden State's owner. I'm not going to talk about it. Whatever. He said some very.
Are you just going to ask if they should be involved in politics
Yes,
at all?
like-
So what are we? What are we
Yeah.
getting out here?
Should they be involved in politics? Should sports owners
I
and
don't
coaches
care.
be involved in politics?
Yes,
I don't care.
because if any public figure is automatically going to talk about whatever they want to talk about as far as politics go, whenever they believe, the only thing for you is like if someone says, if the owner of Adidas or the owner of Nike say, oh well, I think this, and I don't agree with it. Okay, I just won't shop there. I won't give them money. That's all. You're hedging your bet on saying that, okay, well, I could say something that I don't think that people would disagree with me to the point where they will not like the product I'm putting out.
I agree. Earl, anything else?
I don't care as long as they do their job and win the game.
Agreed.
I mean, that's all I care. I mean, I'm not. They're
I agree. Yeah.
They're paid to do a job, go do your job, and whatever else you think.
Like,
So if you want an opinion outside of that,
if
that's
LeBron
available.
James says something I don't like on Twitter, and I think he's stupid for it, I just won't like LeBron James and watch anything he says. That's all there is to it. I mean, you become a more polarizing figure in the sports world. Yeah, so you've got either people who love you or people who hate you for it, or people that are kind of in between. I don't care about your politics. As long as you're doing your job, then that's all. that matters.
Or I do care about your politics, and I don't care how you perform on the court or field, whatever.
Yeah, I never really, because everybody gets up and goes to work and whatever and has their opinion. Just because you're a sports person and can be on TV in front of a microphone, I mean, it doesn't make you an expert on whatever you're talking about. It just gives you a microphone that more people are going to listen to.
That's it. You just have more of a field of people that you kind of reach.
Now, some people can use that for good things, but voicing off with whatever political junk or whatever, trying to cause controversy and this and that.
It goes to the whole, like Colin Kaepernick a couple years ago. He was a very polarizing figure, and some people, it was he was, for me as an owner, he would probably be more trouble than he's worth. He brings more controversy than he does.
And if you're listening in, give us your thoughts on it. Several people are watching about that. But, there's no reason to throw a person or a coach into the political arena when they're just doing their job. Now, Coach Saban, he has his charity work and he uses that. That's a good thing. I don't have any issues with that. But am I going to freak out either way when somebody talks about? I really don't even listen. I would just rather if it's a player or a coach, I'm going, okay, well, they did their job or they didn't. That's all I'm worried about.
Generally, whenever I see something pop up on ESPN that says something politics, this coach says this about voting on this, I don't even. I saw a thing pop up you're talking about Saban saying that the other day after leaving the golf course.
I think he signed some kind of
yeah, he did, and I was like,
petition or something.
I don't care.
And
it literally changes my opinion on Nick Saban none at all.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
I didn't
'cause
even
that
read it.
shows you how much I care because I
Well,
didn't.
no,
I
it
didn't-
just popped up on something on ESPN.
Yeah, same. It was just on my Instagram feed.
So the
But
other
I-
topic that's been put out there for this show was the asteroids. Since we've never got,
Can we?
and
can
we're
we
not. But
talk
we're,
about our.
no, we're not. We're gonna have a. We've talked about. Right now I'm watching the space. It's over on the screen. I'm watching the space station
You
go
seen,
past.
do you see
I
the
don't-
asteroids coming?
I haven't seen it. That's what I was watching for.
Oh, nice.
Dad's been
Every-
waiting the whole referee debate to talk about asteroids.
Yes, the referee debate was.
Rough
Something
for
else.
him.
Well, I'm not going to talk about asteroids. I'm just saying there was an asteroid hurtling through, still is hurtling through space. Lots of them are hurling through space. I know I'll get corrected, but
This one in particular, though.
well, it's a headline that people are that they put out there to make you think doomsday is coming.
Yep.
But asteroid hurling
It's not.
near Earth space, blah blah blah, and it's it's way out there. But
It's like 30 million miles away or something.
but that being said, we live next to a crater where an asteroid hit.
Yeah.
But we don't live in the crater.
No,
really.
we don't
just-
live in
we're
the
just
crater.
the edge
outside,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
There's certain people who do live in the crater.
there are some
we
people
can't
that
talk
live in the
about them,
crater.
but some people. There are people who actually live in the crater. But if you
For me, it'd be like hedging my bets, though, because like, will an
Will it
asteroid
hit
hit the
again?
exact same spot twice?
I mean, the asteroid hit whatever some 80, and we do have someone we've talked to who's going to come on the show and talk about this in
Yes.
Might
more
not, we might not be
detail.
able to do
We
it
won't.
live.
We won't argue about referees on that show.
No.
No, we're not going to talk about referees on that show or anything like that. But he's an expert, especially on the crater, the Wetumpka crater that happened 80
He's
million.
local, is he not?
Yeah, I think he's a
He's
professor at
Huntsville?
Auburn.
Auburn. Oh.
Yeah, so we'll have him coming on. But just the mere fact of that's a headline, everybody watches it, and
Yep.
how are we going to save? We'll bring that up, save that for that show.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting topic.
But it's an interesting. Where we live, people don't really. It's not like you have craters all around you.
Well,
We drive from here to someplace we have to go. We have to drive around the crater. You don't really realize it, but you're
Which-
driving around the crater.
I was wondering that. I was wondering if how many craters are there in like the United
I think
States?
there's. I think recorded craters is just under 200 recorded.
So like
craters.
two or three per state, probably.
There's
Yeah,
not
four-
there's
four.
not 100 states.
Like the whole
So
whole
there's
Earth.
200. So there's like two or three or four, I guess, per
This
state.
is not the largest.
There's
Yeah.
there's 50
This
states.
is probably from looking at a medium to maybe a medium
not
sized
a
crater.
huge
but it's like
asteroid.
if it hit right now, we wouldn't be alive, and probably
No.
within
Say the-
100 miles maybe.
Yeah.
But our expert will tell us
He
that.
can
But
tell us that.
but
Well, speaking of like natural disasters too, it's like on Earth there's some pretty like the
volcano.
eruption. Did you see
yeah,
the
the volcano,
eruption
yeah,
video?
the volcano and the
Tidal wave that
Tonga?
came after it.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
That's
I thought it was.
pretty
I thought it was an on-land volcano initially, but I guess it was an underwater volcano.
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, that's what. That's
It was
what
like off. It
well,
was
because
off
it
an
looked
island, I
like
think.
it was a volcano that erupted like on Earth, like it was a above water volcano. But apparently it
as
was.
opposed to on Jupiter.
Yeah, but there are a lot of those on
There
Jupiter
are
too.
that, yes.
Speaking of Jupiter, that goes back to things hit the Earth and blow up and do whatever else, and I guess probably back in the early 1900s when the
The
meteor asteroid came through and blew up and
in Russia or Siberia.
Siberia and did all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And
I thought you were about to talk about Independent or not Armageddon.
Bruce Willis.
We need Bruce Willis to
welcome
come.
to Earth.
Yeah, welcome to Earth.
He has a
Um,
new show called Welcome to Earth.
That's
gonna be
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
so, golly, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
But
Are you talking about the one that exploded over Russia or on Russia?
But things hit Earth, and in like human lifetime, they're very far spread out. But in Earth lifetime, there's
Oh,
a bunch of things that hit. But we don't think about something hitting. But
You
it
generally
was 20 years ago that a comet hit Jupiter. And they just discovered it. I think a comet, Shoemaker-Levy, I believe. They discovered a year earlier. Then they're like, "Oh, well, this thing's going to fly around and hit Jupiter next year." I mean, how they figure that out, I don't
no
know.
idea.
But they found a comet. Then, because I remember actually looking through a telescope, and you could see the dot it made on Jupiter. I mean, if that would hit Earth,
Oh,
Earth,
you're dead.
everybody would
Well,
probably be gone.
And that was something interesting.
So
that we
things
actually-
hit planets.
Yeah.
all the time.
And that was something interesting that we actually learned. I can't remember who it was, but it was somewhere in school. They talked about how Jupiter essentially eats
Probably the gravity
meteors for
sucks
us.
it in.
I would say that they were talking about how the gravity, or it'll at least pull it off of like
path towards
Yeah,
us.
path towards the Earth.
My
That- thought that was
asteroid belt. Is that a planet that got destroyed, or is that where things
could be.
collect for some? I mean, that'd be an interesting question. You know,
Yeah,
it's
for our
some people
scientists.
wonder.
What is it, the Van Allen? Oh, no, that's radiation, I guess, belt. Van Allen radiation belt. What's the asteroid field called? That's in between us and the moon.
I don't know. I call it the asteroid belt.
I swear there's a name for it. Hold on, let me
There's a
look.
name. There's a name for the.
Is it between us and the moon or us and Mars?
Us and the moon.
Is it?
No, it's between us and the.
I think
No, it's between the.
No.
It's,
I say I don't think it's
It's-
not that close.
Oh no, yeah, it is between Mars.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or it's maybe.
but some people say it's like a planet that. I think it's between Mars and Jupiter.
I was say I think it's even farther out. Yeah, I think it's between Mars and Jupiter.
Yes, it is between Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Van Allen radiation belt.
So, but you do realize there is one person that been hit by an asteroid.
Yeah, I guess
one
it's just called
recorded
the asteroid belt.
one recorded person in the history of Earth. Because I mean, probably if somebody's been hitten by a meteor, they've disintegrated.
survive?
I probably don't
No,
know.
she.
Yeah,
She's-
I saw this. I did read about this.
This is. Well, I'll go ahead and get away because and it was. I think it was in Silicon. I think it was in Alabama.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I think it was in Alabama.
Did it go through their house?
It went through the house,
Oh yeah, I do.
and the
remember
lady
about
was
this.
taking a nap. It went through her roof, hit a piece of furniture, and bounced off and landed on her. And it's like
It wasn't
it's this
small.
big. It's
yeah.
big. And no, it is in Alabama because it's in the museum, Alabama Museum, and that she put it because she died however long ago, but they put it in the museum. But
I wonder how hot that thing was.
That's a
Because
good question.
burning through the atmosphere like that, imagine it lands on you and you're asleep and you just have this hot and molten rock that
a
falls
rock
on you.
that just lands on you while you're asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
I think
I mean-
I think I read of another one, but I think someone got hit by a piece of like space debris. I think that happens more often though.
Yeah,
This
space
one
debris is different.
w-
But no,
the-
this one was a
the
legitimate
show The
asteroid.
show that I saw, this was the only known person to be
Meteor.
hit.
I think
Or
asteroids
meteor,
are technically
yeah,
Be
sorry.
hit by. But I mean, I imagine there could have been some other people hit, but they
Yeah.
might have disintegrated or
Yeah.
something. Like the Siberian one, there could have been people up there, and they're.
And they just nothing left of
Well,
them.
and
Well,
a
it's-
lot of that happens in Russia though. They had that one that
lot of-
exploded. Yeah, well, but I see. I thought about that. Everyone's like,
If you've been hit by it,
no,
a
they're not hit
meteor,
by
let
it.
us. If
Yeah.
you've been
Let
hit,
us
let us
know.
know.
But everyone's like,
get you
oh
on the
my gosh,
show.
why does Russia have so many meteorites
they're
that explode in
massive.
the atmosphere? It's because they have the largest landmass on planet Earth. That's why.
Why do
But-
so many people get attacked by sharks now than the 50s?
Because they're in the water.
Because there's more people in the
Shocker
ocean.
there. Oh, I
Imagine
was.
that.
I
Well,
was.
and
That,
it
that
is
was
funny
one
too.
topic I
It
had.
might have just been
Sharks
something
attack.
I learned off X Files, but so many meteors also land in like Antarctica. That's where the majority of like the meteors we have on Earth come from.
But they, it's
Is that also why the aliens are in Antarctica too, buried
Yeah.
under ice?
Well,
no, the meteors
yeah,
and
it's like
that,
a
it's
thing.
easier. They're easier to find because
That
it's
too.
white.
that too.
Like they
Oh,
walk
good
around.
point.
But usually
I
they're
think
buried,
that is
I
a
think.
legitimate thing. Is they find more up there because
But I think they usually end up buried under the snow, and like they have expeditions that go out there, like scientific expeditions that dig them up.
But also, if it's Antarctica, it's all ice. So the only thing that won't melt is the asteroid. So I guess if it's like it's like you're
Sitting
searching
there.
Yeah, it's like
you're like
two
looking
separate.
around looking for the black dot. Well, that has to be a.
yeah,
Or even if like you're
we have to
looking-
catch it in time because if it just gets snowed over, it's just
Well,
lost.
but if it gets snowed over, you could say, okay, well, I'm sure we have a way to determine like radar, like.
I think they track them when they come down.
Well, no, but you could have
Or
something
something.
like ground penetrating radar that says, okay, well, what's not ice here? What's a rock?
But
Find
that's a,
rock
that's a
for me.
lot of mass to.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but,
I
but,
did-
but people do it
really-
with a metal detector.
That's true. I don't know. But I feel like I've heard that somewhere. I might have just
This-
watched too much X
I'm
Files.
sure that's true.
That is a prelude to, and we will have a guest for that show. We have lined up. We're going to have that guest join us for the
have-
show, and
Have we decided
have
if we're
all-
going to be able to get them live, or
I
is
don't
that
know.
going to be a
Well,
remote
we've-
kind of
we've
thing?
talked over the weekend, so I'm gonna contact
over
him.
the internet?
We've talked over the internet, and we'll have them on the show and answer all these questions about the.
Also, if you have questions for the Meteor Man,
Yes.
leave
Get
them.
them in.
Leave them in the comments below,
Yes,
and be
or-
sure to subscribe and do the
or if-
notifications so you know when.
or if you follow us on social media, send them on Instagram.
The
Tech-
Meteor
you can-
Man.
Yeah, the Meteor Man. You can,
He's gonna.
I say you can always text us too if you know us personally. Just shoot us a text if you have a question for him. Whatever. Any
No.
way you can reach us, we'll probably ask him the questions.
Yes, we'll have questions because I already, like I said, I already have questions I'm saving up that would be interesting.
I've got questions I brought up here that I will bring up again.
Maybe he could sign Yoda. He shouldn't sign him, or like maybe he could give him something that he could then.
Maybe he could
Have
give us a
forever.
little asteroid that we could put on
Yeah,
our
that would be
desk.
cool. I wonder if he has like a tiny asteroid.
But the
I feel weird
but
asking
I'm
a man for
still,
his asteroid.
but still, the meteor that hit the lady, and you go look at it, it's a
Big
big
rock.
rock.
It's
If
al-
you
it's like
dropped
the
it
size of
on,
a
if you dropped it
basketball.
on your foot, it would hurt.
Oh yeah.
So it was.
Especially when it's like red hot from burning through the atmosphere.
So we live next to the crater is literally less than a mile away from where we are, and it's like 4 miles wide.
And we celebrate it every year. They have a crater fest. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Is there crater?
There
I
is
think
a
there
crater
is Crater
fest,
Fest.
let's celebrate the thing
Again,
that
it's
could
kinda like-
potentially destroy us all.
It's also kind of like the weird people who are like, oh, yes,
That
the
is
crater. They're kind of weird, but it's fun. They have
Um,
popcorn and homemade chips or something.
Tinfoil.
I was
Tinfoil.
gonna say something, but you totally
Sponsored
didn't lose
by-
my train of thought right there. What was I about to say? What were we talking about before that?
Crater Festival.
Nah, just before that too. Oh, we're talking about the lady who got hit by the asteroid. I wonder how realistic like some kind of spacious disease is from like
Ooh.
outer space.
Like, yeah, that's interesting, actually. Like, can you
I
get
mean, that would be.
but again, I guess bacteria doesn't survive in a no atmosphere
I
environment.
did see something.
Unless it's space bacteria.
Yeah, but if it freezes once it's outer space,
I don't think that's how that works.
and then it defrosts
Because
whenever
that's
it hits Earth.
how the War of the Worlds ended. They didn't have
Well, I was
bacteria.
watching on some show the other night, documentary thing, a guy going to the bottom of the ocean in a submarine. I mean,
That's
the
also
very, very bottom of the
Was
ocean.
that James Cameron's thing? He did.
It was no, it wasn't. He did it, but this guy went further than
Oh,
him.
really? Wow.
I don't know how recent it was, but he went down in a submarine. I mean, it was like the side. I mean, he was
They're
sitting in a little bitty
small.
thing,
They're
and
small.
it takes 4 hours to go to the bottom, and you're sitting, and all of it, and then he starts on his way back up. But then they're looking there, and they see life forms. I mean, at the 36,000 feet
that
down,
nobody's ever seen before.
it's the weight of an aircraft.
I was like,
It's the
the
weight of an
pressure-
aircraft carrier. How whatever he's in is staying together, but
Yeah. The pressure's unbelievable.
there's animals.
How do they survive?
I mean, if you bring them up to the top,
They die. No, yeah, they
they'll
die.
They do,
explode.
yeah.
The blobfish.
Yeah, he
Have you
dies.
seen the blobfish? You know what the blobfish looks like? Hang on.
So this guy goes, but then on his way back up, all the sensors, could have been for drama, but his batteries were going out, his CO2 was rising. I mean, he still had 2 hours to go. I mean, he made it, but still, I don't want to be in a little bitty.
That's the blobfish.
But I think.
You can Google blobfish.
But I think he looks different
home.
in the water.
But he does look different in the water. Hang on, I'm gonna find a
That's-
picture of him in the water.
Wait, who does that look like?
Squidward.
Yeah, it looks like Squidward. That is Squidward.
Yeah, but they look different in the water, I think.
They do.
Because apparently,
Like,
like,
see, that's what they look like under pressure, which their natural habitat's like however deep in the ocean.
yeah,
They look like little pufferfish.
it's like a cruel thing that people like pull them out of the water like that.
Huh.
Let me see him.
I think you probably.
Well,
have
I
to,
mean-
I think you probably have to
Yeah.
hook it. Like
I think
Catch
most fish think it's cruel when you pull them out of the water.
That's
Probably.
accurate.
They're probably
Or they're fish and they don't think at all. They just-
But
Does
for,
a fish
for a
know
fish,
about
they'd be
water?
like getting abducted by aliens, would it
Yeah.
not? Like
Prelude.
if I go catch a bass, if I'm sitting at home eating like French fries, and then I get a French fry and then I'm start ascending towards the surface at like a great rate of speed, and then another life form holds on to me, takes a photo, or like flashes me with his little square box, and then puts me back. Is that not an alien abduction?
are we?
We
the
were-
aliens?
they- we
Are
were-
we the aliens to the fish?
Are we just?
we're getting to wait. We have to wait
We're
till
getting too deep.
we have to wait to 100 subscribers to get to that, because there's a whole lot of theories and
I'm curious to
Thanks,
see
Lord.
what the Meteor Man thinks about aliens. Like as far as like how likely it is that there's aliens, because that James Webb scientist or the James Webb Telescope guy was like, oh yeah, there's no doubt like
Well-
tiny life forms out there that are probably unintelligent.
100 subscribers.
So never mind. I was going to say something. weird.
Maybe the answers of the universe will be at 100 subscribers. We will reveal things.
The answers of the universe.
Well, yes. So make sure you tell other people to subscribe to the channel so we can get to that.
And we've also, before we go, we've been thinking about getting guests on
We have some other guests
in
lined
the
up. that are-
future. So if there's anybody out there that like a certain personality or like a certain walk of life, even like if you want to see more scientists or whatever come on the show, let us know and we might can pull some
I
strings and
think,
get
I
some
think
people.
we've got a few different walks of life. Then we have a
Yeah,
Yeah,
US
we have some.
Do we want to
interesting
reveal
possible-
any?
possible former U.S. Marshal that may or may
yes,
not
Yeah,
we
want to
do
be
that's
on
have-
our
the
U.S.
show.
Marshal who has some very interesting stories.
We've got a
Some actors.
We have an actor. We have
Actor.
an actor that we're going to be
that's
looking
from
at.
actually a very famous movie that nobody's ever seen probably.
Yes.
or that a
It
lot of
is.
people have seen and just We're not going to spoil
They
anything.
deny that they've seen it. Maybe
You might have seen it at 3 in the morning on some obscure channels.
Yeah, back in the 90s when like there was 4 channels.
So
Well,
we're
I guess
gonna-
it was it 90s? Was
Back
it
in the 90s.
What was the movie? Was that when was the movie?
Oh, the movie? Maybe.
Like late 90s.
probably late to early 90s.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways,
Oh my.
yeah.
You'll
yeah,
know.
you'll see it.
You'll
We
know
can't-
when you see it.
Yes, well, so those are things we have to look forward to as long as you subscribe. Oh, and somebody's saying, where is Travis?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, we
yes.
forgot to talk
yes,
about that.
Travis is, wasn't feeling well, and we certainly miss him on the show tonight.
Yes. He might have broken up that the referee debate a little quicker.
Yes, he would have
He definitely would have.
Or he might,
stopped.
but
put a
we actually had a
But he's
request
an Auburn
for,
fan, so he might jump on that train.
That's true. But we also had we were talking the other week about how we can improve the podcast, and someone said debating. So there you go.
There was a debate.
There was a debate. That's why we don't have debates. But anyways,
So-
Because they will literally never end.
no. But yeah, Travis definitely.
He will
hoping to
be
have him
back
soon.
soon,
If he's watching,
surely.
you'll feel better.
Yeah,
yes,
for
hope,
sure.
hope you feel better. Join us back on the show. This is
Take your vitamins.
the screen Travis is missing.
The past 2 he's missed, sadly.
Yeah, so he'll be back soon. So all of Travis fans.
Yes.
But like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button, notification button.
And
Copy
all
and share the
our
link.
comments. What do we say? Improvements for college football next year. Questions for the Meteor Man, and should refs be held accountable?
And anything else you
Not
want to
should
leave?
refs be held accountable.
Just let it go.
Yes,
They know. They know.
It's
That was just
you'll
the,
catch it on the rerun.
that was the most concise way I could.
That'll
put it.
be that'll be we won't talk about refs for a while.
No.
So what do we do? Everybody's Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and plug everybody's Instagram. Follow Earl.
The real Earl B.
He needs to change to Father Earl.
That would be great.
The real this is the real Earl B.
Brock, what's your Instagram?
Brock_Baumgartner.
I
You
honestly,
can leave all your hate comments there
I honestly don't even know what my Instagram is. I say this every
Every
single
week.
time.
because you have 6
But
of them.
well, yeah, but I can't remember what my personal one is. I know the name, but I spelled my name incorrectly. The
Just-
one I most comment on is the one I play golf on right now. So
I think it's just Benjamin BAU.
no,
But
but
it's
it's
spelled
spelled
badly.
like Benjamin B.
But if you type Benjamin BAU, I think you'll find him.
type in Benjamin Baumgartner, you'll find me somewhere. You'll find one of my 5 or 6 accounts. Yeah.
Many. Yes.
And I also search. Did you hear about Cast? That's what we are on Instagram. So make sure you go over there, give it a follow.
And
don't
again, if
forget-
you have any topic, feel free to message us or leave comments on our recent posts.
I was in mid flow there. You stopped
Sorry.
me really hard. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram. Drop any. Wow, you just stopped me really hard there. You made me freeze. So go follow us on Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go drop them over there. Let us know what you think about the podcast, what we can do to improve. Leave your questions for next week. Maybe we'll hopefully have them all done by next week. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. It really helps out the podcast. Like we said, when we get to 100 subscribers, we'll probably have an alien special. So they have that to look forward to. We will see you guys next week. Should be a Monday night show on Did You Hear About? Hopefully getting back to our normal scheduled program. So we will see you guys then. Good night.